It's 2 a.m. The room is dark, your phone is face down, and you should be asleep. But instead, you're lying there running the same conversation from 3 days ago like it's a courtroom, and you're both the lawyer and the defendant. You remember the exact sentence you said. You remember the pause before they answered. And now you're writing the version where you said something better, the version that doesn't exist and never will. If that's you, you're not broken. And if you love someone who disappears into their own head at night and comes out quieter the next morning, this is for you too. Because what's happening in that skull at 2 a.m. has a name, it has a mechanism, and the last sign of it is the one that quietly costs the most. The name is maladaptive rumination. And the reason it feels so hard to stop is that your brain isn't malfunctioning when it does this. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, just in completely the wrong direction. Here's the core of it. When you're not actively doing something, not scrolling, not working, not talking, your brain doesn't go quiet. It switches into a network called the default mode network. Think of it as your brain's background program. It runs when nothing else is demanding attention. And what does it do? It simulates. It runs social scenarios, replays past events, projects future possibilities. For most of human history, this was survival software. Replay the argument with the tribe elder, figure out what you did wrong, don't get exiled. The problem is that software never got an update for a world where the stakes are a comment someone made at lunch, not exile from the only group keeping you alive. So your brain reopens the conversation, not because you're weak, because you're wired for social threat detection and something in that exchange felt unresolved. The tone was off. They went quiet too fast. You said something and immediately felt the micro drop in the room's temperature. Your nervous system logged it as a threat before your conscious mind even finished processing the sentence. And now, at 2 a.m., with no new information coming in and no tasks to run, the default mode network clocks in and says, let's figure this out. Sign 1. You don't replay conversations you're confident about, only the ones where something felt unfinished. Think about it. You don't lie awake replaying the conversation where you nailed it, where you said the right thing at the right moment and felt the warmth of connection afterward. You replay the ones with rough edges, the ones where you can't quite read what the other person was thinking. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. The brain has a disproportionate obsession with incomplete tasks. A finished conversation gets filed away. An unfinished one stays open in a mental tab, running in the background, quietly eating RAM. And here's what makes it cruel. The conversation is over. You cannot actually finish it, but your brain doesn't register that. It keeps trying to resolve a file it cannot close. Sign 2. Your brain gives you a reward for replaying, and that reward is fake. This is the part nobody talks about. When you're lying there constructing the better version, the response you should have given, the comeback that would have landed perfectly, the moment where you stood your ground instead of going quiet, there's a subtle feeling underneath it. Something that almost feels like progress, like you're getting somewhere. That feeling is real. The progress is not. What you're experiencing is a small hit of dopamine for the act of problem solving, even when the problem can't be solved. Your brain cannot tell the difference between solving a real, present problem and simulating a solution to a past one. It just knows you're running a social repair sequence, and it rewards that with a sliver of satisfaction, which is exactly why you keep going. The reward keeps coming. The resolution never does. If you're already recognizing yourself in 2 out of 2 of these, stay with me because the next one is where it starts to actually cost you. Sign 3. You've started editing yourself in real time because of what happens at 2 a.m. Here's where it shifts from a sleep problem to a life problem. After enough nights of post-conversation autopsy, something changes in how you show up before conversations even happen. You start pre-editing. You think twice before saying the honest thing, because some part of you already knows if this lands wrong, you'll be replaying it for the next 4 nights. So you soften it, or you don't say it at all. You give the safe answer instead of the true one. And then you go home and replay the conversation anyway. This time not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. The rumination starts training your behavior, and the behavior feeds more rumination. That's not anxiety in the clinical textbook sense. That's a feedback loop that's been quietly narrowing your life. Here's a small thing you can do right now before we go any further. The next time you catch yourself in a replay loop, Name it out loud, even in a whisper. Say, I'm ruminating, not I'm anxious, not I'm overthinking. The specific word matters. Research out of UCLA, led by Matthew Lieberman, found that labeling an emotional process by its exact name reduces activation in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, almost immediately. It's called affect labeling. You're not analyzing your way out. You're using language to interrupt the loop at the neurological level. One word. That's the entry point. Sign 4. The conversations you replay most aren't the worst ones. They're the ones where you couldn't read the other person. Not the blowout fight where everything was loud and clear. The ones that ended ambiguously. The okay text that came back too fast. The moment someone laughed but their eyes didn't. The meeting where your boss said, "That's interesting," and you genuinely cannot tell if interesting meant good or interesting meant he's going to bring it up later as a problem. Ambiguity is the engine of rumination. Your brain can accept a bad outcome. What it cannot accept is an unclassified one. So it keeps running the scenario, trying every possible interpretation, looking for the one that feels certain. This is why the most anxious ruminators are often the most perceptive ones. They notice the microsignals everyone else misses, and then they cannot stop processing them. Sign 5. You rehearse future conversations with the same intensity you replay past ones. You've had the breakup speech written and rewritten in your head so many times you could deliver it from memory. You've rehearsed how to ask your friend for the favor, including 3 different versions depending on how they react. You've run the performance review conversation in the shower at least a dozen times. This isn't preparation. This is the same default mode network. Same mechanism, just pointed forward instead of backward. Pre-rumination. And it creates the same false reward, the feeling of having handled something before it's happened. The cost is that you show up to the actual conversation, carrying the exhaustion of having already lived it 10 times, and you're half listening for the version you rehearsed instead of the version that's actually happening. Now, here's the real question. What does it cost you if you let this run on autopilot for years? The relationships that thin out first are the ones that require you to be fully present. Because you're never fully there. You're there, and you're also somewhere in the past or the future running a parallel conversation. Partners notice. Not always consciously, but they feel the partial presence, and over time it reads as distance. The version of you that responds from a real, unfiltered place, the one that says the honest thing before the editing process kicks in, that version gets quieter and quieter. You don't lose it all at once. You lose it in small, daily choices to self-censor because the replay tax is too high. Here's how you start taking the wheel back. Step 1. Scheduled rumination. This sounds counterintuitive, but it works. Give yourself 15 minutes, same time every day. Not at night, to deliberately think through whatever conversation or situation is pulling at you. Set a timer. When it goes off, you stop. What this does is train your brain that the loop will get airtime, so it doesn't need to force its way in at 2 a.m. You're not suppressing the rumination. You're containing it. Step 2. Perspective interruption. When you're in the loop, ask one specific question. What would I tell a friend who told me this exact story? Not, am I overreacting? That just adds another layer of self-judgment to the loop. The friend question works because it activates a different processing mode. It shifts you from first-person immersion into something closer to observer distance. Psychologists call this self-distancing, and Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan has documented how consistently it reduces emotional intensity without shutting down the reflection entirely. Step 3. Interrupt the physical state, not just the thought. Rumination doesn't live only in the mind. It lives in a body that's slightly braced, slightly tense, breathing a little shallower than normal, cold water on the face, a slow exhale that's longer than the inhale. Even just standing up and changing rooms, these aren't distractions. They're state shifts. A different physiological state makes the loop harder to sustain because the loop needs a still, quiet, slightly activated body to run. Give it movement instead. And if you're the one who loves a person like this, the one who watches them go quiet after a conversation and knows they're gone somewhere internal, the most useful thing you can do is not push for resolution immediately. Give them a low-stakes way back in. not, "Are you okay?" which requires them to assess and report. Something smaller, something that doesn't require them to have it figured out yet. Here's the reframe that matters. The people who replay conversations at 2 a.m. are almost always the people who care the most about getting it right, not in a perfectionist, ego-driven way, in a genuinely relational way. They're running the loop because connection matters to them enough to lose sleep over a 3-second pause in someone else's voice. That's not a flaw in the wiring. That's the wiring of someone who takes other people seriously. The problem was never the caring. The problem is that the caring got handed a tool rumination that was built for a different world, and nobody ever explained how to put it down. The loop isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof that your brain is still trying, in the only way it learned, to protect something it values. And now that you know the mechanism, you're not at the mercy of it anymore.